Hey, good morning, everybody. This is George Moorhead with Bentley Properties, and we're back doing the inspection pitfalls that you should avoid. We're going to start to go on the inside. We're going to take some of the basics, and the inside, much like the outside, we can break this up into 4 or 5 different sessions. So I'm going to keep it brief, and we'll basically just keep on the path of just little pieces of the inspection, so that if you have questions like we had last week. So we were actually out on showing homes with a few clients last week, and it was pretty funny. We roll up, and they said, "Well, George, we saw your Facebook Live last week, and you were talking about doing certain things outside. So we'll let you know. I'm looking at the house, I'm looking at the siding, checking the driveway, take a look at the sidewalk," and it made me smile, right? Because obviously they were able to learn something from that, which enhanced their ability to take a look at a certain home, which was awesome. I just loved it. So anyway, again, my name is George Moorhead, Bentley Properties. I've been practicing for a little over 26 years. I also build homes, have done so for, well, longer than I probably should admit. And, we've sold over 2,000 different homes. So we're pretty well versed on what to look for, how to, kind of weed out some of the obvious issues with the house. And that's what this is going to be about. Now, if you can, go ahead and hit the little wow button. Let me know that you're hearing us up in that corner or whatever corner is on your screen. If you have a question, post it, and we'll go ahead and answer that question for you. And or even if it's afterwards, send us an email. Let us know what your questions are. We'll do the best we can for you. And if we need to put you in touch with a professional, we will do so, and we'll give you a couple of recommendations on that. Again, no strings attached. Just let us know what they are. And again, we're here to lead with generosity and help you out the best we can. All right. So with that, two things. 2 questions came up. Hardwood floors. Somebody said, "George, hardwood floors, they got a little, this waviness to it." I said, "Okay, well, that's called cupping." And I said, "Let me ask you a question. Are you keeping your house at one temperature? In other words, you keep your house at 69 degrees 24/7, 365 days a year, or at least, as close as possible. Or are you cycling the temperature up, bringing it back down again, and when you get home again, you bring it back up again?" And they're like, yeah, I do the latter. I said, "Okay, well, there's the problem. Because understand, natural hardwood floors, which is a treat, right? It's a real product. You need to make sure that you understand that it wants and desires, just like you, to kind of have a flatter temperature spectrum, because it is subject to temperature and humidity. And if you're constantly cycling this, you're confusing your hardwood floors. So again, keeping the temperature at a single temperature 24/7, 365 days a year is the best way to maintain your hardwood floors and to keep them flat. Another question came up, sheetrock cracks at the door corners, right? So if I do the video up there, right? Sometimes you'll see, some cracking up in the corners, or if you have going from a living room to a dining room area, and you'll have this opening, and then you'll see some cracking up here on the corner. That's actually pretty common. That doesn't mean your house is falling down. In fact, it's, especially with a new house. In fact, the home that somebody asked me, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I just bought a new house. I've got these cracks." And I'm like, "I'm out. It's okay. Don't worry about it." It's common. In a new home, the first 4 seasons, your house is acclimating, it's climatizing, it's moving, it's doing what it's going to for the long term. And so completely common. Even in older homes, depending on what's going on, those are just, the points of, that have the potential greatest amount of movement, okay? And so it is totally common to see a little bit of crack. That's a putty, a silicone, paintable silicone, something like that. If it's a little more extensive, you can fill it. The concern that you look for, which actually coincides with, today's interior inspection pitfalls to avoid, is you look for separation, right? Deviation, right? So when we come out like this at an angle, if it's at an angle, it's a shear. Sometimes something a little bit more significant might be going on. It could be a settling issue. It could be that, the house, when it was built, was not, didn't get the moisture out of it, didn't get it down to about 12% moisture content. It may have been, drywalled when it was still a little wet, and so the boards are shrinking, right? Humidity, temperature, right? As that shrinks, you might get a little bit of shearing. You could have an issue where the sun is hitting on one side of your house, right? And you have the air conditioning on the other side, and so you're getting this temperature differential, and it's creating an issue, okay? And you can see that, especially during the summer, if people, it's, as an example, we were down looking at a house. The downstairs was 65 degrees, air conditioning was just ripping. The upstairs was, oh my gosh, it was like 95 degrees outside, and it was smoking upstairs. And they're like, oh yeah, we're having a problem with we're noticing our floor is, being a little awkward. Well, you can't have that extreme temperature difference in your house and not expect something to be moving. So it was in conflict with itself. They ended up, matching the temperature, and within about, I would say about a month, everything just leveled back out again, which many times it will, sometimes it won't. All right, so moving on. So we have the inspection report. This one happens to be by Ability Home Inspections. I did get his Drago. I did get his permission to use this. And an inspection report, this one happens to be roughly about 16 pages. Now, the nice thing is on these reports, let's go over there, you get what the scope of work is, right? So we get to find out exactly, what they're going to do. It's going to have a list, I'm doing this low-tech here, inspection summary, right? And then, of course, they show pictures of, some of the key points that they're wanting to bring out. And then, of course, they have their table of contents of what they observed. And notice that, it's interior, it's kitchen, it's exterior, it's bathrooms. They break them all down. And as you can see, there we go. They have different check boxes that they go through to help ensure that they don't miss anything. So on an interior inspection, much like the exterior, right, you're going to want to make sure that you pay attention to really the key things, right? So water damage is probably one of the biggest problems houses have. Now, I'm not saying that you got pooling water. What I'm saying is if you have moisture, if you have humidity, if you have anything that is creating a moist type environment, again, that could be water from the land outside coming into a basement or into a crawl space, right? You could have a leaking, faucet or drain. You may have a moisture issue because you're running. Here's a common one. You go in, you take your shower, and you get done, you walk out, and you turn everything off. And many times people close the door. So what have you just done? You've taken this room that's got a bunch of humidity from your hot shower, and now you've buttoned it up, right? And now you made it dark, right? And it has no ventilation. So what does that do? That's the perfect environment for mold, right? And the biggest problem is that people go in, they take their showers, they don't like the sound of the fan, they turn the fan off. But you need to run that fan 15 to 20 minutes, okay, after a shower to evacuate the moisture that is in that room now. Because if you look at the walls, if you've never noticed, especially in new homes are more obvious, right? So the walls in a new house are going to be what we call a flat paint. There's no sheen to it. It looks flat, right? But in the kitchen or in a bathroom, you notice, hey, there's a little bit of sheen to it. Whether it's not a semi-gloss, but a satin, right, or an eggshell, because it's more resistant to water. But if you look up on the ceiling, especially if there's a skylight, right, just like we were the other day, they said, George, look at the bottom of the skylight. There's this, it looks like brown drips. I said, yes, that is a classic sign of somebody coming in, taking a shower, and then turning off the fan. And with the skylight, especially this time of year where it's a little bit colder outside and it's warmer inside, plus a hot shower that was moist, right? You're gonna get some moisture. And what it does is that takes and gathers the dirt as the moisture walks down the wall, and then it collects around the perimeter of that skylight. So those are things that we want to take a look at. So item number one, when you walk in the house, what's it smell like? Now, sometimes we don't have a choice because people put those little foo-foo smelly things, that plug them in the wall, and they emit this little aroma, which really defeats your ability to smell the house. Which also, I hate to say it, also is a red flag for me because I'm like, what are you trying to cover up, right? Not saying that they are. That's always just, my little, in the back of my mind. They have pets. Are they trying to cover up pet odor? Are they outdoor smokers, but bring the smell of smoke inside, and they're trying to mitigate that, right? Or does it have like old stinky house smell, and they're trying to get rid of that, which is that's a technical term, old stinky house smell. A lot of people ask me, "What's that smell?" That's old stinky house smell. And yes, there are ways to get that to go away. There's a little bit of cost to it as far as sealing the walls and things like that to help create that barrier, right? So getting back, you go in and you take a smell. What does the house smell like, right? And that's if they don't have the foo-foo stuff, right? Does it smell normal, or does it kind of have a musty smell to it, right? Sometimes you go down into that basement, there's a little bit of a musty smell. You go into a bathroom that may not have windows on. You walk in there and it's like, has that little musty smell to it. It's a moisture type of issue that we need to keep in mind, right? So those are things that we need to monitor as we're taking a look at the house as a whole, okay? Now, when we talk about wet, right, most people think, kitchen, bathrooms, showers, outside bibs when we're outside, right? Which would be very consistent. What are some of the biggest violators? Biggest violator, other than people turning off the fan, plumbing, little drain leaks underneath the sink, which is a pretty common one, right? The next one is a loose toilet, okay? For one reason or another, your toilet maybe wasn't secured in the beginning, or maybe it just got loose because it got bumped, or, you put down your new flooring and it didn't quite get secured, and either that rubber, they have now rubber, what used to be a wax seal, right? But because you have to have some little bit of skills to put that wax seal down correctly and set it, right, so that nothing leaks out. They have these new rubber ones, but if you don't secure them properly before you drop that toilet straight down on it, they'll leak, okay? And leaks can sometimes be evident by coming across the floor. And vinyl is the classic of being able to see, because vinyl finishes are so thin that when the water gets underneath, it actually discolors it, and you can see it. And that's the most obvious. If you have a home that has a main floor hardwood floor, again, very easy to see, because you'll see the floor. Remember I said hardwoods were subject to temperature and moisture. You add some moisture to it, it's going to start cupping, right? And that will only recover so far from, depending on the level of water damage, right? And then, of course, over by the tubs, those are classic examples, and we'll see that. Another place that would be really sad to see it, but we do see it, is if you go downstairs and it's an upstairs bathroom, you see this leak or a stain, or you